Why did that teacher get fired from your school? He got a female student pregnant at the same time his wife was pregnant. His wife was and still is a gym teacher at the school. I replaced one teacher. She was young and pretty and was photographed kissing one of the seniors in the parking lot. High school gym teacher. Apparently he showed up to a hotel room expecting to bang a 13-year-old but got busted by the cops instead. It's always the gym teacher. She embezzled thousands of dollars from various club funds. There were also rumors of her sleeping with students. But the administration never bothered to look into that. Middle school pay teacher walked into the girls' wardrobe and asked if he could watch one of them change their tampon as a joke. Arrested by the FBI for credit card fraud. It was a few months after the arrest when the reason why he disappeared came out in the open. She was always drunk. And drinking during class. She would leave us to cry in the bathroom. Dating a 16-year-old student. He was a band teacher. He also had a wife and kid. He went to jail and is now a registered sex offender. Explained elasticity by pulling the bra strap of a girl. Another one for having relationship with a girl from 8th grade. 14 yo. Hey Susie, come here so I can explain the female reproduction to the class. Our new band teacher was a young guy. Fresh out of college. His first year teaching and he embezzled about $1,000 from the band's funds. He got arrested and his possible future career ruined for $1,000. Edit. Probably my favorite part of the story was that he went by the name MR.E. So once he was gone, the ruthless band kids referred to him as MR. Embezzlement. Oh boy, where to start? Elementary school nurse was fired for taking the kids' medications. HS band teacher slept with a 15-year-old. Swim coach left a hotel that he was at with his mistress drunk and killed someone with his car. My high school had like 400 students. FCK bro, did you go to a high school from a CW show? Edit. First award, thank you. One of the elementary school teachers at the district I went to got arrested for making his class worship him like he was a cult leader. He was totally bonkers. A co-worker teacher got fired 2 weeks in the new semester. And instead of uploading a video related to his subject, he instead accidentally continued a previously paused hardcore lesbian scene on the big interactive screen. Semicolon. The computer he was using was slow and TTY2 so he couldn't quickly exit the video. It went on for a good 30 seconds before someone pulled the plug on the screen around the same time he lobbed the laptop about 30 feet across the class. Students laughed she ate toothpaste. Turns out she was an alcoholic trying to cover her breath. 9 out of 10 alcoholics recommend Crest TM. He didn't come to parent-teacher interview night. The next day, he was late for class and crashed his pickup into a brick sign outside the school. Cops showed up obviously and allegedly he blew twice the legal limit. He called the principal a CNT as he was taken away. Sending nudes to a student. My math teacher was a volunteer first responder in NY. She left school to help out during 9/11 and was fired for not showing back up for 2 weeks. 2 teachers. She had fallen off the wagon and was drinking a lot to the point where it was affecting her memory. We kept doing the same lecture on density in 6th grade science for a month. Until one of my classmates decided to ask another teacher about it. From there she went to rehab. If anyone wants more context, she was our homeroom and science teacher. She was very nice. And married to our assistant principal. So she had a little bit more leeway. While she was able to remain sober for a while. She eventually passed away due to the effects of her addiction a few years after this. She never seemed like a bad teacher. But she was always stressed to the absolute maximum. Always felt like she was working from behind. And generally struggling to keep up. You know. The traditional tail end of the functioning addict lifestyle. Affecting rather than affecting. That may have been one of the lessons I missed. Geeky AV teacher that everyone loved. Knew he was a geek and owned it. Caught in a predator sting trying to solicit underage girls. The kicker was a spring school levy was coming up. Local police conspired with the school district to hide the charges for 3 weeks until the levy was passed. Someone substituted his class for 3 weeks. Yeah, everyone was both devastated and pissed. The district ended the school year early. One of my high school teachers was caught on to catch a predator. He pushed some dumbass kid who hit him against a wall. So he defended himself? Or he straight up didn't show up to work one Monday. Didn't call in to arrange a sub or anything. He ghosted the school for a whole week and then tried to come in the following Monday like nothing happened. We also had a 5th grade teacher overdose on meth, but I honestly don't know if she got fired or resigned. It didn't happen at school. He was caught trying to solicit a child prostitute during a sex trafficking sting. He was a social studies teacher at my middle school. And the arrest made local news when I was a freshman. Really shocked the district. Edit. Because a lot of people are asking for details. This happened in San Antonio, Texas in about 2013. My AP Chem teacher had an affair with the principal. Principal got fired too. I felt bad for her. They didn't do anything on school property. And it didn't impact her performance in the classroom. Also, the school wasn't able to find a qualified teacher to replace her halfway through the year. So we were all FK'd come test time at the end of the year. Not one of us passed that AP test. Dating a 16-year-old female student. He was also a pay teacher. Edit. It's always the pay teachers. He was legally blind and ended up stabbing and killing his wife. I heard a rumor that my favorite teacher from 9th grade got fired when I was in 10th grade because he left his class unattended. Honestly, amid all the pedophilia and rampant alcoholism. One was such an unlikable teacher they were asked to retire. One was watching PRN in class. One sent someone else's dick pics to a student's mom. One robbed a bank. My high school of 500 students lost 5 teachers last year because they all had a relationship with the same 15-year-old girl. 1 P.E. Teacher got called out for having erections while watching the girls play sports. Got confronted by the principal, to whom he told it wasn't true. That it just seemed like he had erections because he has a really big dick. The principal, male, was not amused. The P.E. teacher was fired that same week. She wasn't enforcing detention, letting students leave early, or just signing their name for them. She was also the mom of a student. They fired her and all the students that regularly received detention rioted. Jumping on cars, flipping trash cans, they set one on fire, and pulled the fire alarm 7 times in a day. I forget how it was quelled, but it only lasted a day. Had a history teacher get fired for going off syllabus and spending time on the pre-Judaic flood stories. One of maybe 2 reasons I'm obsessed with Mesopotamian, Anatolian, Egyptian history now. He was playing his guitar for students at my elementary school. He had been warned before, but the kids enjoyed it, so he continued to play it for them anyways. One day, the assistant principal was lurking in the hallway and wandered to his classroom. She saw him playing his guitar and fired him on the spot. A whole lot of students were crying that day because he was an amazing guy. Edit. More information. This took place in a small, rural town in Georgia back in the early 2000s. He wasn't the music teacher. He just used to bring his guitar and play songs randomly on some days and the kids enjoyed it. He'd been warned multiple times by his higher-ups. Why? IDK. He was a great teacher. He thought that before the break, he could play something for us one last time during the last week of school. It just happened to be the worst possible timing. While the assistant principal was walking through the halls. He didn't come back to teach at our school when classes started again. If I recall, he got a job teaching at a different school. My sociology teacher in high school was fired for throwing a chalkboard eraser at a sleeping student's head. He was a great teacher. and always did this in good humor. Obviously not a great idea in retrospect. But we all knew that we could get away with sleeping in his class if we didn't mind getting an eraser upside the head if he noticed. I heard he was fired a few years after I graduated high school. And that kinda bummed me out. Probably deserving of a reprimand of some sort. But not getting fired. It's not like he was a sex offender or guitar player. Him and his college buddies invited an underage student over to his house for drinks. They then proceeded to drug and pay her. He still kept his job for a while after the fact because the girl was terrified and didn't know what to do, so she told her friends, which then made the story spread like wildfire, and all the people in a position to do something about it thought it was just a prank. Well, turns out it wasn't a prank. He got sent to prison. Considering it was a drugging and gang pay of a minor, he is probably out by now. I guarantee you he left the state because everyone and their angry redneck dad with a 12 gauge knew about what he did. I still think about this all the time. The assistant principal that kicked me out school for smoking weed. Got arrested for picking up a prostitute. Then fired. The one that for fired was a substitute teacher. And coach of a girls team for grade 7-9. He seemed a bit creepy. And we joked that he liked coaching the girls. And teaching pay so he could watch the girls run around in their shorts. Turns out that wasn't far from the truth. His full-time job was in the medical field, where he was caught doing inappropriate things to female patients. Some of whom being kids he coached and taught. And he had 2 sons in that school. This one didn't get fired. But she was at the point where she had a few classes taken from her. And if she did anything wrong, she would have been gone. Why? Well, she didn't know the subject she was teaching. And would make stuff up rather than admitting she didn't know the answer. She was always mad. And we called her Popsicle because she acted like she had a stick up her ass. But the biggest thing was that she failed 2 grade 11 classes. The whole class. Because apparently not one person, including the smartest people in the school, passed any tests. The dude was so bad at teaching even the negligent admin took notice. She, teacher, was helping cover up an affair between a female student and a male baseball coach. She also was the proxy between them. For example, the coach bought the girl a necklace, so he gave it to the teacher, who in turn gave it to the student. Semicolon. Everything blew up when the student's parents looked through her phone and found a bunch of inappropriate texts. Semicolon. The teacher did not serve any time. She lost her license though. Having sex with a student. More like 10. Threesome with 2 guys in her English class and doing blow with a bunch of students. TW. Suicide. Our principal was escorted out by 2 police. Come to find out it was because he was caught committing fraud. He would assign students to classes without telling them to make it seem there were more kids in, let's say, the art department, so that the department would receive more funding from the government to continue. He meant well, but students caught on when we moved to college and transcripts from high school had a whole page F4 withdrawals. It really messed us up. About 2 weeks later he hung himself. Left behind a wife and kids. It really hit me hard because I almost dropped out of high school after 2 of my friends committed suicide. He was the one that got me counseling, helped me graduate, and encouraged me to go to college. I would not be here if it weren't for him. It just really hurt to know that while he was helping me accomplish that, he did the same thing only a month or 2 later. We planted trees for him to remember him by. RIPMR. Woodcroft. You meant well. Had child PRN on his computer. Teachers at my high school got fired on a pretty regular basis. Principal was a narcissist, but here's one of the rare ones we actually heard about. The school went into lockdown because someone was seen hopping over the fence onto campus at the start of the school day. Freshman geography teacher locked his door. Didn't control his class. Wouldn't let one of the students back in. And jumped at every sound he heard. For comparison, the sub in senior literature next door didn't have a key to lock the door, but grabbed the handle, got on the floor, and planted both his feet on the frame so that the door couldn't be opened. I think the dude was a linebacker for football. 2. There were like 3 computers in the teacher's personal computer in most classrooms. One day they found child PRN on the teacher's computer and was fired. It wasn't until a couple years later did they find out that it was a student that put it there because she was mad she didn't get a better grade on her paper. I don't know why she was using the teacher's computer or what happened to either of them after it was found out. The art teacher at my middle school was known to be very suspicious. I've heard that he would take pictures of girls and touch girls. And adding to the fact that he called 2 girls lesbians in front of the whole class. It was just very weird. All these rumors and he got fired eventually. I can't imagine how his wife must have felt when she asked why he got fired. They didn't fire him based on rumors. My money's on they had solid evidence against him but it wasn't made public. My AP English teacher got high on painkillers, broke into someone's house, and ate their soup. Kindergarten teacher would dig furrows into kids' arms with her long, sharp nails by basically holding their arms real tightly. She did this if she caught them misbehaving during recess. It happened to me when I was running when I shouldn't have. I think this was nearly 40 years ago. I showed the principal my arm as he was walking out one day and she was fired on the spot. I think I was 4 at the time and didn't realize exactly what I did at the time. Crazy shitty. Our elementary school just got a new principal, FCKUMR. Tepner, who was on some F-King power trip or some shitty and he fired all the newer teachers at my school including my 5th grade teacher. MR. Deathloff. If you're out there, you will always be the best teacher I've ever had. I went to a pretty conservative Catholic school. In 7th grade we had a music teacher that pretty much only taught us lyrics to Bob Dylan songs and other 60s hippie music. He was gone the next year. Apparently he called a girl a WH Ray or something similar and they were in 7th grade. They seemed like a cool science teacher before though. He said whoever threw that paper. A teacher gave alcohol to some students in a field trip out of the country. They students were 16-17 and they asked if they could order beer. Later they took photos and it was all over Facebook. This was years after I graduated but rumors spread quickly. Showed R-rated movies to middle schoolers. Shame. She stepped out of class to talk to the principal and a student was going to hide her thermos. They opened the lid to smell it. He was accused and caught on camera grabbing female high school students' butts in the crowded hallways. He had numerous accusations brought against him for cornering female students when they were alone, giving special treatment to females in his class, making S-word comments in class, and even following a student home one day in his car. I was one of the students who had to report and give a written account of my interactions with him. He was fired after the police got involved. Thank FCK. Hooked up with 2 teen girls at the school and smoked weed at his house with them. Janitor filmed his teenage daughters in the shower. This was 25 years ago. So it was an elaborate rig using cameras that had film cassette tapes. Premeditated. Creepy shitty. We looked through that house when it came on the market for sale and it had an awful feel, only realized later why. They found out he was gay. He was a chaperone for the 8th grade East Coast trip. And parents of boys got all up in arms that he had access to their hotel rooms. No student has ever accused him of anything inappropriate. Staring at the girls' asses while they were doing squats. Strictest teacher in the history of the school left his laptop up with dominatrix PRN. Strict marking test sheets. But dominated in the bed sheets. My football coach bullied the gay kid on the team enough that it had a big enough impact on him that the kid killed himself. The coach was mentioned in the note and the teacher coach resigned. The coach was a total asshole to people he didn't like, including me and a few others on the team. Since he wasn't allowed to kick kids off the team, he would pretty much bully the kids to quit. Nonst on some kid playing Pokemon Go outside school also had child PRN on laptop. For the non-Brits, nonce is British slang for pedo. One teacher had sex with a student during a marching band. Trip. She FK'd a 12-year-old. Went to jail. FK'd him again. Went to jail again. And then married him when he turned 18. Child PRN. He had enough of that one arsehole kid who would disrupt class and talk shit. One time he punched him in the side of the head while he was still in his seat. Knocked him and his desk over. The kid was fat SND, wore tracksuits to class and thought he was the shit. But he wasn't and had it coming. Everyone gave the teacher props but he knew it was over and just walked out. Lots of stories here, basically teacher plus Goral plus SX equals fired. My teacher was smart. He started dating a girl her freshman year. When she turned 18, she graduated early. He resigned and they jumped the wagon. Never to be heard from again. Worst part? She was dating some other guy at 16. Got pregnant. And claimed it was the boyfriend's. And they left. She took the kid with them. The teacher was in his 40s with a wife and 2 kids. MR. Boer and Alyssa, if you see this. Holland is now married with 2 kids and MRS. Lisbon remarried as well.